As you can probably tell in the background, there are kids playing outside, which is extremely crazy right now during a pandemic. Why are there kids outside? Anyway, that audio from outside at the park or whatever was leaking into my recording of this video. While I was editing this, I just noticed that. So, little prefacing, like while you're watching the review, you're gonna hear kids in the background. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry for the inconvenience on that one. And now, please enjoy the review. Mulan is the latest film in the Disney roster to get the live-action treatment, and this film comes to us after a 6-month delay, or nearly 6 months, due to the pandemic happening. It was originally supposed to release in end March, but now thanks to Disney Plus's Premiere Access, it is now available for viewing, unless of course you want to wait until December for it to be free. I don't know what they're doing here. This film is essentially, like I said, a remake of the 1998 animated film, which a lot of people love and most people consider to be one of the best Disney animated films of all time, myself included. It's a film that's really wonderfully made, and this is a more realistic take on the Mulan story, or the legend as it were, that has existed for many, many years. And this film decides to make it more grounded, more serious, and PG-13, which when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, that means that they've probably done some stuff which is very different over here. And right out the gate, I have to say that that is one of the best parts about this film. It is not a shot-for-shot remake. If you're someone who was getting a little sick and tired of the fact that these remakes were essentially doing the same thing except under a different coat and with more CGI to make it look photorealistic, I have good news for you. That's not the case with this movie. It actually is trying to do something very unique and very different and tell a story that has been told by them in a different way. So I do appreciate that. Right out the gate, that is one of my positives for this film. Beyond that, I would say the biggest positive for this movie is really the aesthetic of it. The costume designs, the makeup, the production design, the colors used. This is a very vibrant movie. I have to give it praise for the visual spectacle on display. The CGI that goes along with the visual spectacle could be better. I think at points it looks extremely CGI. There were a few times a creature just flies past you like, that's CGI. There's a scene with a spider that looks very noticeably CGI. Not as bad as Veronica's spider. If you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. But it didn't look that great either, which was very disappointing to me. But there were points where the CGI was really, really good, and it was used very effectively. The supporting cast also, there's a lot of great performances in here. The Gong Li was really good in this movie, and so was Donnie Yen. It was nice seeing Jet Li as the Emperor. That was a fun one. Also the score. I really liked the score for this movie. I thought it was really nicely done. And in fact, some of the integration of the original songs from the 1998 movie into the score as the instrumentals play was actually quite nice. This movie does not have any songs, by the way. This is like I said, very grounded, no Mushu in this either. This takes a very serious approach to the story. Again, something I'm on board with. Unfortunately, it is also a very inferior movie compared to the 1998 film, but even if we're not comparing and looking at it on its own merit, it's fine. It's not as good a movie as it could have been. It feels like a lot of wasted potential. And a lot of that comes down to the way it decides to characterize Mulan, as well as the story it's telling in general. And it just doesn't have a proper balance of things, or as much as I wanted it to. One of my biggest positives to give to the original film in particular was how Mulan built herself up to be the hero that she is, and that she is known for being. And she is a massive inspiration to people and to young girls who have seen the film since then. One of my good friends actually has cited Mulan as a massive inspiration to her life, and I completely understand that. When you watch the original film, you get that feeling. A lot of that film's emotional, powerful depth is missing in this one, but more importantly, one of the things about Mulan in the original film was she built herself up to be that hero that everybody loved and respected. In this film, and I don't know if this is much of a spoiler because a lot of people have already talked about it, and it's introduced like very, very early on in the film, like first 5 minutes. Mulan basically has an immeasurable amount of chi within her, and that basically makes her extremely strong. She can take on anybody, and if she was to go in a battle, it would be like, you know, an OP entering the scene, like she would just take everybody out. And I thought that was disappointing for one reason because, like I said, there was a generation watching that 1998 movie, my generation, who was very inspired. That was very inspired by that story, and it was a lot more powerful. That's vapid in this movie. And this is not the first time a Disney live action remake is getting that criticism, the fact that it lacks the emotions and heart of the original. And that is something that I feel like is a problem, which even if going forward, I feel like this really needs to be rectified as soon as possible, especially since there are more live actions being considered. With this movie, I feel like we're really starting to expose that, like, listen, you have to tell these stories in a way that really hits what the original one did, because otherwise, why even are you doing this live action remakes? It's nice to try and do something different over here, but if it takes away from the essence of that original character, what made that character so endearing in the first place, that is very disappointing. There's also scenes that are missing in this movie that have been cut out from the original, and some that just there's cuts to different parts of a same scene which make no sense. For example, one of the most impactful scenes of the original film was Mulan finally deciding to go into battle, and she cuts her hair. It's a very iconic moment, and it's a very powerful moment. That moment is not in this movie at all. She goes from, I want to go to fight, to, I'm in armor, okay, let's ride, in like 15 seconds. I thought that was a little disappointing too. In fact, I felt like I'd skipped a scene leading up to that big decision. It's a massive thing that she is deciding to do. Even in the real history, her legend, that is a massive undertaking that she took. I wish that was explored a lot more. But more than that, there were moments in fight sequences and in scenes in general where there would be something happening on one side and Mulan would be there, and then suddenly in the next cut she's right next to the enemy, and I'm like, wait, hold on a minute, like, we're missing something here. And I feel like the film just makes some cuts like that as if she's just superhuman or something. I was talking about this film being a lot more grounded, and yet it has those moments where it does supernatural stuff. Gong Li's character in particular. I'm all okay with that. It's just that I wish that this film honed in a lot more on the personality of the original film, or had any personality of its own to present to us, the viewer, or to this new generation. I don't think this is a terrible movie. I think this is a lot better than some of the other live action remakes that Disney's just done, like Aladdin and The Lion King, especially the latter. I just think that this movie was wasted potential. I think it could have been a lot better. I think it could have honed in on its messaging a lot better. I think the main actress playing Mulan too was not as good as she could have been. There were moments where she was very well directed and she did a good job in those moments, but there were moments where she was extremely bland and very blank. And I found her to not be as endearing as the original 1998 character either, which was extremely disappointing to me. I don't know who to really blame in that scenario, but I just wish that there was a lot more emotional upheaval to that character, to the actress's performance as well, which felt vapidly missing. But that being said, like I don't think this is a terrible movie. I think it's okay. There's a lot of nice things in it. There's a lot of fun stuff to be taken away from it. But overall, would I suggest watching this movie over the original one? No, I think the original one still gets the win by a mile and a half. I'm going to give Mulan a 6.5 out of 10. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. I'm currently also playing Marvel's Avengers. I hope to have that to you soon. And I'm also going to be watching I'm Thinking of Ending Things on Netflix. Should be a pretty fun weekend. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, guys. Thank you very much. And I'll see you guys at the movies.